Right now, if you want to be a funeral home director, embalmer, or cremationist in Colorado, it can take as little as a week to get an application approved by the state. It's a disturbing reality to the victims' families involved in the investigation of the Return to Nature funeral home in Penrose. Investigators say in October they found 190 bodies improperly stored there, devastating the families who trusted the owners with their loved ones. I spoke with two of those families who say they learned the ashes they received were not their loved ones and may not even be ashes at all. Now they're both on a mission to make sure this never happens to anyone else.
I think what people need to understand is these aren't just bodies decaying in a building. These are people. You know, they have faces, they had lives. They were human beings just like you and me.
That's why Sheila and Gary Canfield Jones want to show their daughter Morella's face. Morella was a mom, full of life, who spent part of her career working as a model.
She was a very good model, you know, and she enjoyed doing it. I think that was the fun part. But then she got to a point where she said, "Mom, I just want to go to school." So she finished her degree in biology and was working as a sleep study tech in Denver and had a really good job.
Morella was just 38 years old when she died. That was in 2019. Now, 4 years later, they say their daughter was one of the 189 other people found at the Return to Nature funeral home in Penrose earlier this fall.
I finally got out of the FBI what it was that they were calling about. It was like going through it all over again.
It's a real-life horror story Sheila says could have been prevented if Colorado had tougher laws, including licensing requirements for funeral homes and their employees and routine inspections.
One of the jokes in the mortuary business is people will complain about having to go to school and get licensed to be a funeral director, and they start complaining about all that's involved. And the joke is they look at him and say, "Go to Colorado, you can be a funeral director tomorrow."
According to the National Funeral Directors Association, Colorado is the only state in the nation that does not have licensing for funeral directors or crematory operators. In Colorado, funeral directors are not regulated, only the business. And according to the Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies, or DORA, there are only two requirements on the application to become registered with the state. Pay a required fee of $300 and complete an appointed designee affidavit. Dora says that designee must sign that they are at least 18 years of age, have at least 2 years experience working for a funeral establishment, be employed by the funeral establishment, and have authority to ensure personnel comply with the Mortuary Science Code. As for inspections, Dora only inspects funeral homes and crematories if a complaint is made or upon the director's own initiative.
None of us complained for 4 years because we thought we had our daughter's ashes.
Now she's on a mission to change that.
But changing the laws helps you, it helps me, it helps everybody.
Eddie Press wants the laws changed too.
That's unfathomable to me. We inspect every single gas pump in the state. When I get a water heater installed at my house, the state and the city comes in to verify that it was installed properly. That we don't care about taxpayers once they pass away is unfathomable to me. I don't want us to be the most regulated state in the country. I don't want over-regulation. I don't want to be the laughing stock of the country when it comes to this, where morticians tell their students if they don't like going to school, just go to Colorado because you don't need any accreditation here.
Press thought he had his father's ashes too until he got a call from the FBI.
We spread some of them on the Sunday before I was notified by the FBI the following day that that was not my father.
Thomas Press died this past July.
He was just a very kind, gentle man that loved the outdoors and hiking and backpacking.
His son says he trusted the owners of the funeral home with his father's remains.
I called and spoke with Carrie Halford on the phone when inquiring about finding services for my father, and communicated with her multiple times. I met with her in person to collect what she claimed were the ashes of my father, which cannot be the ashes of my father. And her and her husband John came to my parents' home to collect my father when he passed at home under hospice care.
That's why he and the Canfield Jones family are determined to make sure this never happens to anyone else.
The most important thing going forward is not a lot can be done for us, but we can do a lot for the next families that are going to be the next victims.
You're on a mission.
I'm definitely on a mission to change these laws because nobody should go through this. Nobody should, this horror should not even have ever existed. And it wouldn't have if we had those laws in effect. But it's up to the legislatures to make that decision. And the only way they're going to make that decision is if we, you, me, the people, the families involved, make an effort to email or call them or send them a letter.
Senator Dylan Roberts tells me he and Representative Matt Soper plan to introduce legislation in January to better regulate the mortuary industry in our state. Of course, we'll be sure to track that legislation and let you know what happens. In the meantime, the Colorado Office of Policy, Research and Regulatory Reform, which makes recommendations to lawmakers, is currently conducting what's known as a sunrise review for funeral service professionals. A sunrise review is an assessment of potential regulations. It's due to lawmakers by the end of the month. It is expected to include a recommendation to license all funeral home professionals. And Rob, from there, it's up to lawmakers to decide what additional regulations they want to put in place.
Yeah, way overdue here. A lot of people
Definitely.
may wonder what happens to my loved one's body once it's turned over to the funeral home or the funeral home director.
I wondered that too, and I learned so much about it. There is a chain of custody law in Colorado that explains what has to be done with bodies, like making sure remains have an ID tag on them. The state says those records have to be made available upon request, but the reality is, unless you ask to see the records of your loved one yourself, no one else likely will, unless the state does an inspection.
And when people are in that state burying a loved one, how many of them actually think about these regulations, these rules, checking to see if it's all in order? And we've been talking about this for the last week or so as you're
Yes.
putting that story together about it's mind-boggling.
It is.
That something this private and precious is virtually unregulated.
Virtually unregulated. It's very painful, and for me, it gave me a reality check when dealing with my loved ones. I've buried several of them. I've received those ashes. I trust the funeral homes that I worked with, and I believe they did the right thing. Obviously, in this case, there's a lot of people saying what Return to Nature did was definitely the wrong thing. Those owners of the funeral home, John and Carrie Halford, are facing 250 felony charges right now. They're in the El Paso County Jail. They are due back in court next month.